What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to episode 56 of the U.S.S. Enterprise D tutorial. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. If you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we got about a 34-minute episode. We're going to be working on the exterior of our Starship Bridge. I'm actually really looking forward to getting into this today. And we're just going to be hopping right into this. So we're starting off our center. We're going to be building up 2, 3, 4, going 4 blocks high. And then we're going to build our x-axis point all the way out until we get to the end of our current oval. So give us dimensions that we have to work with. So what's probably going to happen here, more than likely, the bridge, well, originally the bridge I was going to intend to have it built on the layer that's currently at. But what's ultimately going to happen, we're going to have to finagle that a little bit because this is going to be a little bit tricky of building walkways to get from our shuttle bay to our bridge and then to our lower areas of the ship. So we're going to be counting out from the outside on 9 blocks, and on the 9th block out, we're going to start working on this oval. And I'm not going off of any pixel circle generator. I'm just winging it. And at this point, I've done enough of these that at this scale, I'm confident that I can build out the bridge in the way that it'll work. Now, if you're not super familiar with working with circles or ovals, even in a smaller scale, I wouldn't necessarily recommend it unless you're going super small, because the larger you larger you build, the harder it's going to get ultimately to build your circle or oval out. But ironically, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to end up tweaking, not super significantly, but we are going to work on this a little bit because kind of give you some foresight on what's going to be coming later on as we work on this, is trying to make it the area that we set aside to work on our interior, building it in a scale that works where it's not too big for the outside, but then we also have enough room on our interior to fit our bridge, our captain's ready room, and then of course our conference room. Those are all considered on the same deck. Um, this was something that I actually had just a little bit of trouble with because I think I talked about this in previous episodes, that not the bridge itself. The bridge came out exactly how I wanted it to, but the one and only compromise I made during this entire build process was when I was working on the captain's ready room and the conference room. I just ran out of room, and they ended up being a little bit smaller than I wanted them to be. In order to fix that, I would have had to have made the bridge a lot bigger, or build the bridge further down, which is something that we could have possibly have done, but that would not have actually have worked because directly underneath the bridge is going to be the shuttle bay. And the shuttle bay on the Enterprise D is massive. In the dead center of it, it actually has a cargo turbo lift, and that's going to be the one thing that my build is not going to have. Now, we are going to have the facade for it. We'll have the area where you come in. You'll know that that's the turbo, that's the cargo turbo lift, but it's not going to go down deck to deck other than just being on the main deck of the shuttle bay. And that's entirely because once we go below that deck, then we're going to be in the mall area. And then if we go above it, then we're going to be in the bridge area. So I wasn't even able to build the bridge further down, so I could have done it a little bit bigger. Once we actually do this outline, it's going to be a little bit of time before we even come back and actually build out the interior of the bridge, just for that reason, because this is going to be the funnest part of the build once we get the outside done. The inside is basically like a giant jigsaw puzzle, trying to figure out a way in which making everything fit and it all works. That's something I've learned over a period of time of building these ships, that plan your stuff out, because the more you rush it, the more least likely you are to have everything flow and work together. Um, if you don't know exactly what I mean, go back and watch my very first tour that I did on my YouTube channel of my 2009 Enterprise. You'll see a little bit of that. I might actually one day see if I can pull that save file um, off my original Xbox 360 and see if I can maybe actually do a tour and comparisons, because that ship was a lot of building on the fly and doing things on the fly rather opposed to planning things out ahead of time. And I'm kind of straying off a little bit from what my original topic was, which was the bridge, but there's a reason for that, and that's that I would rather take my time on the bridge and make sure that um, I'm doing what I want and something that's going to work, as opposed to just throwing something down and then trying to make it work later on. You're least likely to have mistakes if you take your time and plan it out, as opposed if you do it the other way. You're just making way more work for yourself. Trust me, and I've been there. Um, and that's why we're really going to kind of cool our jets as far as working on the bridge, even though we're going to have the outside of it done. That's going to be something that we're going to do later on. Kind of what's going to happen once we get the outside of the ship done. Um, we're going to start working on more of our corridors. I think we'll do a little bit more plotting out for the lower hull, and then we'll come in and we'll actually start working on the outline template for what's going to become the mall on the ship. Now, as you can see right now, I'm just going layer to layer, and I'm building out the outer shell of our bridge. Um, and I'm kind of just this part I am winging, because there are some things that you can, just kind of do on the fly, and this is going to be one of them. Well, I'm not even necessarily doing it on the fly. I'm using previous templates that I've used for other builds. Specifically, I'm doing this in the same way that I built out my uh, Star Trek Discovery Enterprise, where I'm using the half slabs, because and I also did that on the U.S.S. Kelvin, I believe. I used the half slabs to build out the bridge, and it just kind of worked out better, and the shape works out a lot better as opposed to using the full blocks. Um, and really, what I'm winging by this, as far as how many levels to go up. Now, one of the key parts with this is making sure that we go up enough rows to ensure that we can house the interior of our bridge. Now, some of that's going to be a little bit of guessing, and that's okay. The thing is, where we're at right now, we can always add an extra layer or two down the road if we need to, or maybe make this just a little bit wider. And that's actually something that we're going to do later on. Once we get the outside done, I think actually after today's episode, we'll be caught up where we were in the teaser episode for the Enterprise D. Um, kind of crazy. It took 56 episodes just to get to the point where we're at on the teaser. So it gives you an idea of the length of time that we're going to be working on this thing. It's going to be a long build, but definitely have a lot of stuff to do today. Well, actually, not that much, because really we're going to be working on the outline of the bridge, filling in the sides here, and then closing in the bottom, and then we'll be caught up with the teaser trailer. So far, we're not looking too bad, and I think we're gonna do like one or two more layers, and then we'll come back. But yeah, from what I remember, I actually came back, and like 2 or 3 times I'd be going through the bridge area and trying to figure out what I was gonna do. And one of the main problems that I ran into was that I had noticed pretty early on that my primary shuttle bay, the way that the ship is designed, was going to be cut off from the rest of the ship. And that's ultimately why I couldn't, one of the reasons why I couldn't lower my bridge down too, because, it was encompassing that whole area is where the cargo turbo lift is for the transporter room, but I needed to have a turbo lift on that deck with access to the shuttle bay to where I could achieve a couple of things where we can go up into the bridge and then down into the lower hull. And it took a little bit of time to get there, you know. Sometimes when you're building these ships, it's not always going to be, you know, so cut and dry as far as what you want to do. And just over a length of time building these things, that's why I've found that if you're not sure what to do, step away from it and work on something else. It'll come to you. It may not come to you today. It may not come to you tomorrow. You might even have to look at some reference material, maybe look at a couple of different blueprints if you can find something that'll help. Um, but that's 9 times out of 10 what it'll take is just taking a step back. I can't tell you how many times, especially over the course of this build, just by stepping back and saying, okay, you know, what I'm doing isn't working. I'm going to, you know, just step away from this for a little bit and I'll come back to it at a later time. Just being able to come back to something later on with a fresh set of eyes to attack it as opposed to frustrating yourself, you're a lot more likely to crack it because if you're like me and you're in a situation where it's just not working, or whatever it is that you're working on, maybe it's not coming along the way you want it to, the more that you work on it and the more that it's not coming out the way you want it to, it's just going to frustrate you even more. And you're almost doing yourself a disservice by basically spinning your wheels. That's why I say, you know, if this is not a rule, might as well make it one. If you're not sure what to do, just take a step away. I swear, one of these days I'm gonna sit down and I'm actually gonna write down a set of rules on basics of shipbuilding because I feel like I've got a whole bunch of them. I might even more than likely put them on my Discord at some point. Which something I want to talk about. I've had some people asking, like, you know, different ways to get in touch with me or being able to show me their builds and things like that. And I want to talk a little bit about it because my girlfriend's been helping me with it. I'm actually getting ready to launch a Discord for the channel, and I'm really excited to do that. I don't have an exact date on when that's going to be. I'm going to have some pretty cool information on there. You know, I'm definitely going to be having all the new Minecraft updates. I'll have notifications on my channel for that. Also, of course, I'll have updates on my schedule for my YouTube channel. Um, or if there's any interruptions on my channel, honestly, it'll be the easiest way for me to keep in touch with everybody on my channel as opposed to putting a new video out. Not that I'm not going to have new videos out, but it'll be a little bit quicker than having new videos out. Another cool benefit about this channel, um, or my Discord channel that's coming, is that this will be a way for you to get in touch with me and to communicate a little bit easier. And also, if you want to show me your builds, because I'll have people all the time that they'll be asking me suggestions on their build. They're making a change to it, or maybe they're working on one of my builds and it's just not, they're having problems with it. And it doesn't always happen. 9 times out of 10, I can usually walk people through what to do when they're running into a problem. At least when it comes to my builds, and most of the time when they're having problems with other builds. But this will give me this will be a new resource for me as well because I'll actually be able to see your builds, and I'm going to have a section on my channel where you can post this stuff, and you'll be able to share it with the community of people that are just like us that enjoys shipbuilding. It'll be a chance for you to showcase some of your work, and I'm also going to have an area where if you're having trouble on something, to where not only can you ask me what to do, but maybe you can ask other people within the community what to do, because I'll be the first one to admit that I'm not the best builder on here. But I think one thing that I have over other people is that I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've got a lot of patience, and I've pretty much trial and errored several different ways on doing this. But with that being said, there's going to be a million and one different ways you can build these ships. There's a million and one different ways you can tackle a problem and come up with different solutions. And the stuff that I do isn't necessarily the right thing or the wrong thing. It's just what I'm coming up with. And I think that's one of the beauties of shipbuilding on Minecraft is that it's basically pixel art. You know, so at the end of the day, it's dealer's choice, and you can do whatever you want. Um, And I think that's pretty cool. But definitely keep an eye out for that. Hopefully, I'll have more information on that as we get into next week. I'm going to try to get a little bit more of that done this weekend, hopefully, and I'll have a little bit more information probably starting next week, if not maybe a little bit later or sooner, give or take. But definitely keep an eye out for that because really excited. And, as I've been saying, we've got a lot of cool stuff coming to the channel. And of course, as we get closer to 1,000 subscribers, once we hit 1,000, don't forget, we are dropping a tutorial on the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise. That was one of my biggest requests of people when I was first getting this channel going, and I still get asked by people today when I'm going to do that build, and that's going to happen when we hit 1,000. So if you can help me out, share these videos. If you have friends that enjoy building on Minecraft or that they like Star Trek and they want to get into this stuff, share my channel out. I really appreciate it. I can't thank you enough for everybody that takes the time to watch these videos and share them, likes them. You guys are awesome. And there's a lot of cool stuff to come too. Other than that, next build more than likely. I think I keep talking about it. Like I said, I don't want to dedicate myself to it as I'm still trying to just focus on the Enterprise D. But I'm pretty sure it's Voyager is going to be the next ship because when even before I did the Enterprise D, my top three builds requests that I was getting was the Enterprise D, Voyager, and Star Trek Beyond Enterprise. And those are ships that I really wanted to do. And I'm looking forward to doing them. I think Voyager will be a lot of fun. And Voyager isn't going to take that much time to do either because it's not a very big ship. It's actually kind of small. So I think that's something that we can do in a relatively much shorter period of time compared to the Enterprise D. And definitely keep an eye out for that. And of course, if there's stuff that you want to see me do that I haven't named off, be sure to drop a comment below. Let me know what stuff you want to see me build. Doesn't necessarily have to be Star Trek related. It can be anything nerd related in general. Um, but when I do my builds on here, I always go off of what the community wants because that's gonna hopefully give me the most views that I can get when I have the most interest. So if for whatever reason, if I don't do your build, don't get discouraged by it. Just take that as maybe that, there's other stuff that other people want to see as well, and I'm just getting more for that. But you never know, um, because at the end of the day, I've been trying to make a point that I don't comment on requests. And the reason I don't comment on requests right now, and you're never going to see me do this, is because I use those through my comments section that I use that as a way to gauge what people want to see. I look through the comments and I see what people are asking for, and this is how I'm able to determine what ships I need to work on next. So even if your ship or build or whatever you're asking me to work on for Minecraft isn't something that's getting requested right now, you never know. Down the road, as this channel continues and more people are asking me for things, you might be surprised that can end up coming up. So just keep that in mind. And definitely love hearing from everybody. And for whatever reason you get stuck during this build today, be sure to drop a comment below. Try to help you out if I can. Um, but I think I've been getting a pretty good groove here as far as building goes. Haven't really been having too many people ask that many questions. I think for the most part, the things that I'm doing this at a pace in a way that everybody can keep up. Because of course I'm not going off giving you exact diameters, um, but I think it's pretty easy to to follow along with me. I actually have had one or two people in the past that have told me that they just, they want to build what I'm doing block for block, and I mean, those people, I mean, God bless you, but the way I've done this channel is that I've tried to build, or I've tried to do these tutorials in an informative way to teach you something. Because at the end of the day, this was something that I try to look at this as from a builder standpoint when I first got into Minecraft, that this is stuff I wish I had access to, where I could actually learn how to do this rather than somebody doing the thinking for me. I try to, when I do these tutorials, I try to invoke thinking. I try to get people to think in a similar way that I'm thinking, or at least talk about my mindset so you can get an idea on why I'm making the decisions that I'm making when I'm doing these builds. And of course, I always talk about the steps that I take and what I'm doing. Um, but outside of that, that's where your creativity needs to come into it, because at the end of the day, these builds are really just meant as a guideline on what you could do. You know, cool thing about this is that at the end of the day, these ships are made up. They're not real, they're imaginary. And 98% of them, you're never going to see a truly canon, fleshed out version of them. It's just never going to happen. So, the awesome thing about that is that you can take a ton of liberties with it and take advantage of that. I do. Every single build that I've done so far when I'm doing my interiors and even tiny areas on the outside, this is just my own preference on things that I think that the ships should have. And as you're doing your own ship, I definitely encourage it. Come up with your own ideas. Don't just do exactly what I'm doing, unless that's what you want to do. And if you want to build what I'm doing, I will give as much information as I possibly can. But if you're looking to get a block for block call out on how many of this probably isn't the channel for you, and I would say good luck in finding those, because I have had people in the past ask me, well, how many total blocks is this? I'm building this in survival mode. I don't have an answer to that. I really don't. You know, um, I'd have to imagine that just for my Enterprise D, we're talking hundreds of thousands of blocks, easy. So I mean, this is something that I'm still working on it to this day. I'm not even close to being done with the interior, and I don't know if I'll ever be fully done with the interior. I think like with any build, I'm going to know when I'm done with it. Once I've exhausted all of my creative resources I can possibly go through on things that I can come up with to add on on this ship. That's when I'll know it's done. But until that point, I'm going to keep working on it. And once we do get to that point, I'll call her done and we'll move on to the next one. Well, you're probably you may find finished builds on here on Minecraft of these ships. And hey, that's cool too. But a lot of these ships, you'll find that the interiors, it's the same rooms over and over again. And that, if you want to do that, I think that's awesome. Um, but I really, that's something I really haven't done too much on my ships. Um, when I did the 2009 Enterprise, I think that was one of the ships I really filled that in. But I actually do want to get in a little bit what I got going on here. You see, now that I filled in the backside, or excuse me, the flat part of the oval that's surrounding our bridge that you can see on the sides here of our shuttle bay, I'm continuing our half slabs and I'm connecting them to our oval. This way it looks nice and flush. The only place that I'm not doing that is this middle part right here. There's a single row of blocks missing. We're going to leave that just the way it is. But on the sides here, we just brought that all the way in. And we're looking pretty good. We've got about 11 minutes left, and now I think we've just got to do the underside. Might have one or two tiny things that we're going to swap out here. I'm going to get rid of our X-access point here and replace that with the white quartz. And then we're going to work on the underside a little bit and call this thing a day. But it's actually kind of gratifying to see this thing come together like this, because we've been working on this since February, and I've been putting the videos out now since May, so we're just now getting to a point where we're getting the outside done, and now I can really get excited because I can start showing you guys the stuff that I've been working on for the interior that I really haven't shown on this channel at all. I showed a teaser of it on Star Trek Day, and you guys saw a tiny, tiny glimpse of the shuttle bay and a tiny portion of the mall, and then the bridge. But other than that, you didn't see anything. And there's a lot to show on this build, and I'm really looking forward to getting into that. but there's still so much stuff to fill in too. And I'm right in in the meat of getting this stuff done. So if there's something that you want to see me work on, please drop a comment below. Let me know while I'm working on this ship, because once I finish the Enterprise D, I'm going to call this thing done and I won't be coming back to it. So I always end up getting that. Well, I'll have people drop a comment and say, "Hey, can you add this room or you do that?" And it sucks because I'll have to go in and tell them, like, "I'm sorry, I'm not working on the build anymore." So if there's something you want to see, be sure to drop a comment. You never know, I might just end up doing it. Um, I've got a lot of cool stuff planned so far, but you never know. So anyway, now we're going to be moving on to the underside, and we're going to be adding in sea lanterns going along our opening here on our oval. And what we're going to do is we're doing this primarily for a light source, because we're going to come back again directly underneath these sea lanterns. We're going to add half slabs, because this is going to be one of the things now that once we've closed in the upper portion of our saucer is become very, very dark. And we basically need to get all the lighting that we possibly can to ensure that we can see all the details that we're going to be adding in on the underside of the saucer. Otherwise, it's pretty much just going to be pitch black. All right, now we're going to come back with the half slabs and fill that in. I think some of the rooms I'm actually really excited to show off that we'll be building. Of course, building out the bridge, but not even so much the bridge. That was fun, but the primary shuttle bay, that'll be pretty awesome. And then engineering. I think you guys will really appreciate what I did with engineering, because I'm trying to flesh that out other than just the main area that you saw in the show. I'm trying to add in some other areas and also kind of fill in some of that space in the lower section of the ship, and make it feel a little bit more grandiose, because that was one of the things that I didn't always notice, and I actually didn't notice it at all until I even started working on this tutorial, that when you think of how big the Enterprise D is, and then when you think about the scale of engineering itself that was on the show, it's relatively small. And that was my thinking behind it when I actually went in and I started working on engineering. I was like, how can I um, create extensions of engineering that feel natural? And this is going to be stuff that we'll get into, but this is great thinking to have, because this is what I do when I'm working on my ships. And this is a great scenario where you don't have any reference material to go off of except main engineering. And we'll get into that. I'm really looking forward to showing some of that stuff off, because I think that'll be a great asset to people when they're working on their ships, because it's truly become a fantastic asset for myself when I'm building these ships, because now when I'm building them, that's what I think about. When I'm working on areas where there's sections of the ship that haven't been shown, I'll immediately gravitate to some of the areas that have, and I'll think of, okay, can I um, expand upon what's already here and use what's here already as a reference, and in this case, engineering. How can we add multiple decks of that and make it feel like it belongs there? Um, it's definitely a challenge in itself, and I think that's one of the reasons why I enjoy the shipbuilding on here, is that there's a challenge involved in it. Making it all come together, because it really is. It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle, making everything fit inside the space that you have to work with, and also being able to convey all the ideas that you have in your head that you want to be able to do. And we're going to add another row, so we're going back and forth between the half slabs and the full slabs, but really we're going down in rows of half slabs, and this would eventually become the captain's yacht. I have the space for it. I have not built this area out, and I did have somebody ask me to do it. I have the concept art um, for the captain's yacht, but I haven't built out the area because I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. I think what we're going to end up doing here too is that we're going to come back and we're going to get rid of just a couple of layers here that we added in because, and I noticed this on the when I was looking at the model that I kind of maybe added one or two layers more than I needed to. Yeah, I think we're going to add one more, but I'm pretty sure we're going to come back and we're going to get rid of one or two of them. We're going to flatten that out just a little bit. This is why it comes in handy to be looking at your 3D model of the Enterprise D because it can help you from saving a mistake because you can be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, just adding in layering because to get that nice curve in the middle, to make it look a little bit more like a dome towards the very center, kind of like my instincts are telling me to do. But if you go back and you look at the model, it kind of just has like a quick dip in the center, um, and it doesn't really dome out the way I'm making it out to be right now. But with that being said, if you end up liking this, hey, feel free to keep it. I think that's one of the cool things too is that I try to show the variations on what I'm doing. So this way, if you have the one way that I'm ultimately going to end up on, you may not like that. And you might decide, well, you know what? I like this way better. And that's why I'm showing it too. Because also, if I didn't show this, I wouldn't be showing my whole method on how I'm coming up with these designs. And you'd be a little bit lost too if I just skipped over it. And that's not something that I really want to do. Yeah, I think right here on this level, I just filled it all in. But when I come back and I look at the outside of it, we may not actually even get to it in today's episode. We've only got about 3 minutes left. But I think ultimately we're going to come back and we're going to shave off a couple of rows that we added on here and make it just a little bit flatter in the bottom so it's not bulging out as much. We really won't see it until we zoom out and look at the ship. But regardless, even if we shave off a row or two, we'll still have plenty of space here to build out our captain's yacht. And this version of the Enterprise D did have a captain's yacht. If you don't believe me, go on Google and search U.S.S. Enterprise D captain's yacht. They do have concept art for it. I don't know if it was made for the original Next Generation series or if it was for Star Trek Online, but regardless, they did make it. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to be using that reference material to build this thing out when we do flesh it out. So we're looking pretty good right now. We're going to do an outline in yellow to give it just a little bit of color on the underside. And we're going to just do that going all the way around with the cut line. We're looking pretty good. We got a couple more rows to do, and that's going to call this one a done deal for this week. Actually, if I can, I'm going to try to keep up with releasing these videos as premieres. If you've been enjoying the premieres, let me know in the comments section because one of my thinking, my logic behind it is that I kind of figure that if I'm setting these videos as premiere, I'm getting them all uploaded in ahead of time, and they also have the notifications reminding you that the videos are coming out. And that was my main reasoning for doing that. So if you've been enjoying these premieres, definitely let me know in the comments section. I want to hear from you because I'm trying to do a couple of little things differently here and there. Those of you who've been sticking around until the end of my episodes, you notice I got an outro video now. So just trying to brush up my channel a little bit, make it just a little bit nicer. But man, she's looking really good. We can actually say that we have a shell now for our Enterprise D. Unbelievable. Hard to believe that it's taken this long to get here, but we are in good shape. And going to zoom right back again just so we can take a look at her and stop it just on that. And this is what happens when you set your mind to something on Minecraft and you take the time and plan it out to do it right. Now, there's still some things we got to do, especially on the underside. We're going to have to come over and add in a couple more rows of the sea lanterns going underneath these half slabs to light up more of the underside of the saucer section. But we'll be able to get that done in some of these future episodes coming up. Yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up today. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you have any questions or comments or any builds that you want to see me do, be sure to drop a comment below. Definitely love to hear from everybody. And don't forget, you can always catch my new Minecraft videos dropping Tuesdays through Thursdays. But anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me today. I hope everybody has a happy and safe weekend. And I'll catch you on the next episode. And of course, what did you build today in Minecraft? Let me know in the comments section. All right, take care.